Coming up on today's episode of the Ango Show, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about a variety of things. Brock Lesnar, Janel Grant, WWE Raw superstar coming from SmackDown. Also, we got to talk about a huge major change for WWE in 2026. And as always, if you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button. We're on the hunt for 100,000 subscribers. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you all for tuning in. Let's kick things off with WWE Unreal, and more specifically, some of the reaction that WWE superstars are having, because WWE talent reportedly have concerns about WWE filming WWE Unreal. Now, there was a new report that came from Fightful Select that revealed WWE Unreal director Chris Weaver was in gorilla position filming content during Seth Rollins cashing in the Money in the Bank, and Netflix is essentially looking at doing a season 2. It hasn't been 100% confirmed, but there is a lot of belief that Unreal will continue to go through, and WWE was taping future episodes. Now, in the same report, it was said that some talent were reportedly worried about WWE filming in the gorilla position, which is traditionally considered a private and emotional space for wrestlers, and being filmed and becoming one less sacred area where they could be vulnerable. It was also noted that some featured talent were not aware that they were being filmed specifically for the show, and that those who were featured were not paid anything extra for their appearance. Now, that's a very interesting part of the conversation, right? Because WWE talent being filmed for the show, but then not being paid for the show, I can understand why people would be upset about it. And of course, the idea of filming in gorilla is definitely an interesting part of the conversation. But I think WWE is basically turning the tides of what kayfabe is. Because with WWE Unreal, you are being exposed to certain things happening, but you don't necessarily know if that's what they want you to see or if that's not what they want you to see. They're trying to blur the lines, and that obviously makes for a big deal. That brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. WWE's LA Knight is potentially being moved to WWE Raw. Now, we have talked about LA Knight moving from SmackDown to Raw in recent months. And then, of course, we saw what happened with Saturday night's main event where Seth Rollins was injured. And we've all known that is actually not true because Seth Rollins is not actually injured. We saw him cash in Money in the Bank. Now, I have spoken to people. I know that this is something that is very, very possible. And it could start as soon as tonight's episode of Raw. But LA Knight is expected to be on Raw. And I believe this is where things could get interesting, but I believe that LA Knight could be getting some sort of program with Seth Rollins. And I don't really want to say beginning a program because he's been wrapped up in a program with Seth Rollins. But, of course, with Seth Rollins' injury, then we haven't really seen the continuation of that. And I believe tonight will become the start of that. Now, what I find fascinating here is LA Knight is somebody that a lot of fans are, obviously we know people love LA Knight, but a lot of people want to see him break that mid-card ceiling. And we don't necessarily know if he could break that mid-card ceiling, but with the feud against Seth Rollins, that obviously could be the case. And then, of course, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, LA Knight all being in the mix. Maybe we have something in the works for Clash in Paris, I don't know, or maybe even Survivor Series. But the idea that Seth Rollins could be in a feud with both of them is huge. And then, of course, for LA Knight, you have to break away from SmackDown. Being on Raw, LA Knight has an opportunity to really grow and really do some big things. And I think for WWE, I think they're smart, bro. I do have to give them credit. I don't think I think they know exactly what is happening with LA Knight, but it's a process. And I don't know if wrestling fans have the patience. That brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. Janel Grant and her legal camp have actually issued a statement on Brock Lesnar's WWE return. In a statement that was released on Monday. Now, this was sent to multiple different media companies. Basically, a spokesperson for Janel Grant has come out and said, for far too long, abuse was allowed to thrive under WWE's leadership. Instead of righting this wrong, WWE has done nothing to ensure those responsible are held accountable. This attempt to sweep misconduct under the rug will backfire. We look forward to the full set of facts, including those about Mr. Lesnar, coming out in a court of law where they belong. But in the meantime, we refer you back to Janel Grant's updated complaint, which outlines in detail the abuse she endured by McMahon and others while employed by WWE. Now, at the same token, you have to remember that with Brock Lesnar, technically speaking, he is named in the lawsuit, but there is no belief that Brock Lesnar committed any sort of illegal activity. There's no belief that he committed an actual crime. And this is where, you have to kind of come to where things stand morally and then criminally. Of course, the allegations and everything that Janel Grant made were absolutely serious, and that is why there's a legal system that's going through this whole entire process. And as of now, the case has not been settled. Vince McMahon has not had a settlement of any kind. But this is coming after a day of Brock Lesnar's surprise WWE return. As I mentioned in a previous video today, Brock Lesnar's return was cleared by WWE Legal 4 weeks ago. So this spokesperson that's coming out for Janel Grant, yeah, we will have to wait and see what unfolds. Of course, WWE at this point is very comfortable with Brock being back, and I don't expect much to change there. And that brings us to our final topic. Ladies and gentlemen, WWE is reportedly planning a major change in 2026, and I think we all saw this coming. We had actually talked this about a year ago. Mark Shapiro, Nick Khan, WWE, Triple H, they have not necessarily hid from the idea or a potential plan to do 2-night PLEs. However, Andrew Baydala, who, shout out to him, Andrew Baydala is awesome. Love what this guy does. He's come out and talked about this, and it seems like these talks are intensifying. He said on social media that following the success of SummerSlam in New Jersey this past weekend, the discussion of hosting more 2-night events has intensified with WWE and TKO. With an earlier start-finish time, impressive revenue, and attendance numbers, it's clear that the 2-night format resonated well with fans. TKO and WWE appears to be capitalizing on this success, as plans are already underway to introduce more 2-night live premium events in 2026. And I think this is a great idea. Honestly, as a content creator, it gives me more to talk about and more to handle. I don't like the idea of 13 matches on a card. You can do 5 or 6 matches each night, and I think that's a great mix. And, the show starts at 6 o'clock, and by 9:30, 10 o'clock, it's done. I'm okay with that. I like the idea of pay-per-views not ending at 12 in the morning. I like the idea of not watching a post-scrum until 1 in the morning. So this is a great move, in my opinion. And listen, whether you guys want to admit it or not, maybe this isn't for you, and that's completely fine. That is literally fine. I understand. Maybe it's too much, but for WWE, they're seeing a huge increase in revenue because of it. Sponsorships. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense from a business perspective for them to do this. I fully expect this to happen for Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and that's pretty much it. SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, some of these events being 2 nights, it just makes sense. I don't expect this for the Backlashes, the Clash in Paris, Bad Blood. I don't expect it for the smaller pay-per-views, but for the big 4, big 5, I would definitely see this coming. I don't know if WWE will 100% do it for every event next year, but I would say be on the lookout. Survivor Series can make a lot of sense. War Games or Royal Rumble for sure. Definitely a big possibility. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.